Hello, it's Kira with Polymer Clay TV, and today I'm going to show you how to make this fairy door on a hollow papier-mâché heart and have it open and hinge, so you can put a secret treasure inside. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and download our Create Along app. Let's get started on the project. Here's a summary of all the things that I used. So we're going to need, of course, a fairy door or a fairy door mold, and some polymer clay. This is Primo polymer clay. Some paint and things to decorate the heart. Here I just have a selection. I used some matte acrylic. I used a piece of punchinella. I used some ink, Brilliance and Versa Magic chalk ink and Brilliant ink. And then for assembly, you're going to need some jewelry pliers and cutters and some wire. This is a fun wire, which is actually a plastic coated wire, but you can use regular wire as well. Some jump rings. These are oval jump rings. I have an X-Acto blade for cutting out my door, and some things that might be helpful are Repel Gel and Sculpey Bacon Bond. I've got some gilding polish, a roll of washi tape. This is going to be very important for this particular project and any projects like it. You'll see why. And then I have a Q-tip or cotton swab. So step one is going to be creating a hole in this heart that's about the right size for the door to open. So I'm just going to draw. This is going to fit just about here in the middle. So I'm going to draw the little arched top. And I actually don't mind if the hole is a little bit smaller than the door. That'll give something for the door to rest on. That's pretty good. So I'm just going to get an X-Acto blade and cut out the hole. And FYI, inside the heart I painted some gilding polish. The color was golden olive. I just wanted something nice and metallic to bounce the light around inside the heart so that when you look inside you could see in there. I filled my fairy door mold and I'm going to turn it out onto a tile just like last time. Alright, and now the difference this time is that we're going to cut out carefully. We're going to cut out and we're going to try to bevel it so that the cut that we're making is going this way, not this way up under the stones. We want the door to open outward, so we have to cut along the stones, but in a direction that is not going to get the door stuck inside the stones when you try to open it. So I'm going to hold my knife at a very slight angle this way so that when the door is free of its background, it does want to swing open. Good thing about having it on a tile is that you can move the tile so that your cutting hand is going in the right direction. So I can tell that I freed that, and because we are going to want to open the door, I'm going to give it a more substantial handle with a little piece of clay. Right where the handle would be, I'm going to just make something that I can grab. And I think with this one, I'm going to cut a hole and allow us to see inside the door. Instead of filling in this window. I'm going to pull it out. Now we're going to have some fun. We're going to remove the stones from around the door that we just cut. And I'm just going to set them over here for now. and I'm going to work on the door. And I proclaim that this door shall be copper instead of that other color. I'm going to make it shiny this time. So I've got some copper pan pastel, and I'm just lightly touching my finger to it and running it over the wood grain. And I think I'll make the door knob itself a different color. I've got copper right here. I can put a little copper on my findings, my little door hardware. You can do your fairy doors any way you like. Do them different each time. The secret weapon here to make our door open and close is going to be jump rings and wire to make a sort of modified hinge. I have some oval jump rings which will allow me to embed them into the clay and then use wire on the other section, which would be the stones, to get it to swing open. So over here where my door hardware is, I'm going to modify this a little bit and insert these jump rings into the side. So I'm just going to cut carefully a little channel and then insert these oval jump rings. There we go. I'm going to shove it in there, and then I'm going to press the clay. I want it in there pretty good, and then I'm going to press down on this so that I know it's in there and it's not going anywhere. It has clay all around it. Okay, so what you're going for is this ring to be embedded and stuck in the clay there, with clay surrounding it. So you can use the tip of your tool to close up the holes, make sure that the clay is really closed there where we put that in, and then do the other. Alright, it might take you a second to get that in there. Now you want enough of the jump ring showing that you'll be able to get a piece of wire through here, because the next step on your stone part of this door is going to be putting the wire hook that will allow the hinge to turn. The addition of the door to this heart would be the last thing I'd probably do, mostly because of all the baking steps involved. So right now, you could do anything you want to this heart. You can add lots of polymer clay embellishments on the inside and the outside and bake it, and then go on to this step. Now I'm going to use washi tape, which is, in my mind, the crafter's companion. It's low tack, and what it's going to do is support my door. I'm not going to stick it down very hard. I'm just going to put it in a couple of spots, because I'm going to take the door off the tile and lay it over the opening. And I'm going to bake it so that it can retain this shape. Now, if I didn't put the washi tape there, it would want to sink down, especially while it's baking. It would sort of sink down into the hole and be cup-shaped. So we don't want that. So I'm just going to lay it here and bake this for 30 minutes. It's not going to stick to anything, and the washi tape is going to come off. In fact, I might just sort of unstick it on the edges here. Really, it's just there to support that door so it doesn't fall inside the heart during baking. So that's a trick for you, especially when you're baking over an open area like that. All right, we're out of the oven and cooled, so we can remove the door, and you'll notice maybe that it's got a slight curve to it, and it's following the curve that was on the heart. So you'll just set aside the washi tape. You don't really need that anymore, because what we're going to do now is probably enlarge the hole a little bit, and then we're going to be placing this over it. So I'm just going to take a look here at how much room I have to work with. All right, so you can go ahead and enlarge it if you want to, or you don't have to. I'm going to. Next, I'm going to take a little look at what's going on with my door here. And the places where I cut back, I'm going to trim a little bit more out of there in the places where I cut out the door. And just get all the raggedy edges off and all the little extra bits of clay, little sort of edges sticking off or sticking out. So get rid of that. And next we're going to play with a really fun product called Repel Gel. You don't need this, but it will help with this project. It's a Kato polyclay thing that you can get online or at the craft store. I know they have it at Hobby Lobby, and I think they do have it at Michael's. We are also going to use some Sculpey Bacon Bond. If you don't have this, you could use translucent liquid Sculpey or Kato liquid medium to do the same thing, but this is going to be best because it's a little bit thicker. First, the Bacon Bond. I'm going to go all the way around the door opening. And you'll notice I'm using a Q-tip, and that's just because my bottle of Bacon Bond has not been officially opened yet to be able to squirt it out. So I'm just going to grab what's inside the cap. I want not a ton of it, but enough. I'm going to use my finger in a second to spread it out. These have a great little cap. Just put that back on there. And here we go. I'm just going to spread this so that I've got a wider area because my stones are sort of wide. And then I'm going to place my stones around my door like so, making contact with the Bacon Bond. And then we've got some finagling to do with this door, so that's the reason it's already baked. So I'm going to lay it down here, and I'm going to see where I need to put my hinges, which I can see it's going to be sort of between this section. So I'm just going to cut out a little notch because I want my jump ring to fit there, and I need a little space to work with. And then this one too, so if I kind of move things around a little, I can get this notch right about here in this stone. So I'm just going to cut a little piece out of there. And then I'm going to remove the door just for a second while I apply. See, now I can see that I'm fitting pretty good here, but I can bring this in a little bit. And my notches and things, what I want you to see is right in here, where my jump rings have notched out the stones. So I know that those stones are now going to fit. So I'm going to put this Repel Gel stuff along the whole interior edge of the door, and the reason is that it protects the polymer clay from sticking to itself when we baked a piece of unbaked clay and a piece of baked clay next to each other and we don't want them to stick. So that is what it's for. That's what its intentional purpose is for. Of course, people use Repel Gel for all kinds of other special effects. And you can try it out for fun stuff, but the popular use and the reason it was created was specifically for this, for putting that piece of baked clay next to the unbaked clay and having them not stick together. So after baking, they'll just peel apart. And the Repel Gel is, I think, kind of water-based, so you can sort of wipe it. If there's any residue, you can wipe it off later. Now, if you'll remember, when I did the other fairy door last week, I used micaceous iron oxide and I baked it right into the clay, and this week I'm not going to. I'll apply it afterwards. Alright, to make our little hinges, what we're going to do is cut off a couple pieces about 1 inch long from our fun wire or your regular wire, and I'm going to make sort of a big loop, and I'm going to attach that loop to my little door here, the hinge, and then I'm going to close it up give it a twist and cut off the extra. Okay. So there's one side, and then we'll do the other one. So we'll make a loop, put it through here. This is important. You don't want to, there's no way to attach this afterwards if you don't put it through your already baked jump ring. And then give it a little twist. Cut off the extra piece. And this is going to be embedded in the side of the door here where we made our little notches. So we're going to carefully, gently shove these in. And that's going to take a little, you know, finagling and work, but I'm thinking that the use of some pliers will probably help. So I've got some needle nose pliers. Sorry. And I'm just going to face them into, and just pay close attention to what you're doing so that as you put these little loops in here, they are going to allow your door to swing. See, so you don't want to put them in a position where they would like lock the door shut. And if you mess up your clay a little bit, you can come back and fix it. And I'm not going to be too careful or gentle with the stones because I am going to come back and paint over them with a nice thick layer of that micaceous iron oxide later, so I know that they'll be pretty even if I sort of ding them up now. So I've got these hinges now shoved into the clay, and you want to make sure that they're pressed really nicely And now we're going to just make sure that the stones are pressed down against the heart where we put that bacon bond, that these areas here where our hinges are pressed firmly against those hinges so that they don't pop out later, and that our door isn't being impeded by anything, that it can open. And we're going to go ahead and bake this again for 30 minutes. And I will be back. All right, we are out of the oven and cool. And now you can see that the Repel gel did its work. And my door opens. There's a little bit of that Repel gel sort of hanging out there, and you can take your cotton swab and dab it in some water before you do your final paint job, which you might want to use your micaceous iron oxide or anything else to finish it off. So the topic of today's class was getting this door to open and hinge, and you can see how it sits nicely in there. And you can decorate the inside any way you want. You can put more clay and things on the outside. But I would love to see your applications of this. So come on over to Polymer Clay Tribe on Facebook and upload your photos. Show us what you make. You can also now download our free app for Android and iPhone, and you can send us pictures right from the app. So join us today. I'm glad you were here on Polymer Clay TV, and we'll see you next week.